Oh, I think they're doing a great job. A lot of them are.
Good afternoon, Dwayne. How are you?
Not too bad, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today with Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
But I do have some questions.
There are more questions than answers.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
If you're ready to talk, we're willing to listen.
Well, I really enjoy this program today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
May God bless every person.
Good afternoon. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. Hopefully you've had a great weekend. Hopefully this will be an even more productive week as we get a chance to speak to our good friends from the Health Services Authority and to speak to one of our visiting consulting, just excellent and most honourable members of our Caribbean community. So join us as we tell you about the upcoming visit with PAHO in relation to measles and the idea how we can continue it. It is in time for us to protect our community. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today, the Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program. We ask our listeners to avoid statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use any indecent language or make any statement which is false or misleading. Email talktoday@candw.ky or call 1-800-534-8255.
Courtesy of Flow.
Cayman's #1 network that connects you to your world like never before.
Let your voice be heard. Once again, here's your host, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. Thanks so much for joining us. And it's a chance to introduce again our good coordinator for the HSA. I'm going to be looking at the outlook. As I look at Miss Susan, I will be reminded that today's Monday. I better pay attention to what she's sharing and try not to multitask and talk. Nurse Angela Graham, thank you so much for joining us, and together with your colleague, Mr. Tim McLaughlin-Monroe, to welcome to our studio Dr. Karen Lewis-Bell. When we think of communicable diseases, in particular things like measles, I mean, look back to when some of us were young, having to get injections, knowing that it wouldn't be an occurrence, and then to see not just movies, not just see the media accounts, but even the debates within parliaments and the like as to whether we should be immunizing to this date. Reoccurrence, resurgence, and is there things that we can do as we get a chance to speak more closely? Nurse Angela, from that perspective, I mean, where are we in Cayman and where do we go from here now?
Well, as you know, we don't have an immunization law that dictates that persons be immunized against measles. However, we do have a policy that before children are admitted to school, that they should be immunized. And by a far way, I think most of the parents take the responsible position and they do immunize their children, and they are cooperative. However, we still have some persons who are not willing to immunize, especially against measles for various reasons. And we have made the decision that for this vaccination week of the Americas, which begins on April 20, that we would have, as a prelude to that week, we would have something on measles awareness. So we are getting all our health service workers together, both in the public and the private sector, and we are going to be having a workshop to strengthen the national capacity for the rapid response to a potential imported case of measles. Because if we have one person on the island with measles, then that is considered to be an epidemic. So we have to be prepared, and that is why we have invited Dr. Karen Lewis-Bell, our regional advisor on immunization from PAHO, to come and conduct this workshop.
Well, again, welcome, Dr. Lewis-Bell. Nurse Angela shared one instance in this country. Wow. Expand on that for us, please.
Okay, so the Caribbean has not had measles since 1991, and particularly measles that had been occurring in the islands for many years, what we call endemic measles. And so because our rate of measles is 0 Anything above that is an outbreak. So one case would be an outbreak. And so the region of the Americas and all the countries of the Caribbean were actually certified as having eliminated measles in 2016. And we really want to maintain that. The Caribbean really has taken pride of place globally in the immunization program and in eliminating diseases through vaccination. And we are very proud of that, and we want to maintain it that way. So the Caribbean really makes every effort to ensure that we maintain that status of being measles-free.
Now, when we look at it from sort of an outbreak that occurs within, not from someone who may have traveled somewhere, who's from somewhere visiting as part of. In that latter example, the person's unknown, comes in, and then while here, it's determined that they had contracted it from elsewhere. How does that play into this equation in terms of statistics, in terms of our response? And
so that is why it's very important for the country to have a very strong surveillance system, actively searching for possible cases. Because Cayman, like many other countries of the Caribbean, relies so much on tourism for economy. And certainly now, during our winter tourist season, although officially I think the date it ends today, but the Caribbean islands see tourists from all over the world throughout the year. Mm-hmm. And measles is actually occurring in every single region of the world. And in particular now, many countries in Europe are having measles. New York, for those who are aware of what's happening, there's a big outbreak in New York in the Jewish community. And when we do have outbreaks like that, it's really the unvaccinated who tend to be affected. And so for islands like Cayman that receive so many tourists, if you should have an imported case, so that will be the first case that starts with an importation, it could easily spread to other persons in the island who are not adequately vaccinated. And therefore, if the spread of disease continues for a long time, then measles will again become endemic, or you will continue to now have local transmission, and we don't want that.
No, for that respect, when we look at the idea of the New York instance, we've seen in California and other states within the U.S., just looking at the U.S. mainly because statistically, most of our tourists are from that area. Most of us probably travel there as opposed to other parts of the world. When we have outbreaks in those areas and then look at our local population, Nurse Angela, at some point I'll ask you about statistically the vaccination rate. We know it's high amongst the population. For those who are not vaccinated and then those who are, if you're vaccinated, can you get measles again? It's a question we've asked.
So, if you are adequately vaccinated with 2 doses of a measles-containing vaccine, that gives you protection. If you have had measles disease in the past, that gives you lifelong protection. But 1 dose of measles vaccine or measles-containing vaccine is not sufficient to give you full protection against a disease. And one of the things with measles is so highly infectious that it will find that one person in the population who is not vaccinated to ensure that they become infected with measles. Measles is like the bad guy. It's searching out. It's like a guided missile trying to find that one person who is not vaccinated. And for us to ensure that the whole population is protected, we have to have a minimum of 95% coverage with not just the first dose, but also the second dose of the measles vaccine.
With that, Nurse Angela, what's our coverage? Is it 95% or more? I mean, where are we in the Cayman Islands?
We are still a little under 95% for our first dose, and we're not doing so well. We are a little under 90 for our second dose. We are hoping to really improve that this year. We are working really, really hard. Even during this vaccination week, as we always do, we're going to have a makeup clinic, and we're going to be targeting those children who missed out on 1 or 2 doses of vaccine. So we're going to start with our 4-year-olds, and then we work our way down. But we're going to make sure we target them this year, and we're going to be calling persons, and we're going to be inviting persons as well who, even if we do not call you, but you know that your child has missed missed out on doses of the measles, mumps, rubella vaccine, you can come in on Saturday 27th at the Public Health Department.
Now, with respect to the vaccinations, I
just wanted to jump in there just to clarify that this vaccine is for the youngsters, and Nurse Graham deal with different cohorts. Mostly it's those born during the year, right? So
we immunize children over 1 year.
Right.
Over 1 year.
Right, over 1 year old. So just so if a grandparent or a mom and dad listening, that they would know it's not a vaccine for everybody. It's for your child.
See, I'm going to see if you
Can I just add,
yes,
though, that it's important for everyone to be adequately protected. Right. Generally speaking, because many countries, including Cayman, had outbreaks. The last outbreak in the Caribbean was in 1991. Right. So persons who are over 40 years and over, they would have had some natural immunity from the disease. So generally speaking, the immunization program in the Caribbean has really been established since 1977, 1978. And so we have always focused on the children because they are the ones who are most at risk. But in each cohort of children born each year, there are some who are not adequately vaccinated. So we could still have some 30-year-olds, some 20-year-olds who are not adequately vaccinated. And certainly we would want everybody to be adequately vaccinated. So if there is a 20-year-old or a 30-year-old or a 15, 18-year-old, I'm sure Nurse Angela would vaccinate them as well.
And with that, if you had the vaccination when you were 3, 4, 5, 6, when you were first going to school, and you haven't had the second dose, and now you're 30-odd, you get the second dose, and that would suffice. That would put you adequately vaccinated.
Yes. So initially, we used to use only the measles vaccine. And then we moved to the measles, mumps, rubella vaccine. So people may have only had measles. So they would now end up getting the measles, mumps, rubella vaccine.
Okay.
Which is fine.
All right. Well, when we come back from a break, let's talk about it, because it's important for us to understand that we're not only protecting ourselves and our families, but collectively we're protecting the community. Can we also talk about some of the misconceptions, the perceptions that people may have relative to vaccinations, and is it across the board to some? The opportunity to speak about measles in particular. Well, when we come back, we ask you to rejoin us.
Spring is in the air and Easter around the corner. So too is Savannah Pharmacy, your neighborhood pharmacy located in Countryside Shopping Village. Stocked with Easter gifts and treats and new spring apparel. Remember, they're always just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays. Get all of your Easter purchases at Savannah Pharmacy in Countryside Shopping Village or call 946-3336. Savannah Pharmacy, your neighborhood pharmacy located in Countryside Shopping Village.
At Flow, we know that 4 are better than 1. Introducing Flow Quad Play. Packed with the fastest, most reliable broadband, the power and control of Flow Evo TV, Cayman's best mobile experience, and tons of home phone minutes, all in one convenient package from only $199 a month. With 4 plans to choose from, you're sure to find one that fits your needs. It's value, ease, and convenience all on one bill with Cayman's #1 network. Find out why 4 are better than 1 with Flow Quad Play at discoverflow.ky. Terms and conditions apply.
This Easter Saturday, hop down to Bayshore Mall for Kirk Freeport's Easter at Bayshore Family Event. Join us on Saturday, April 20th from 4 to 6 p.m. for refreshments, cotton candy, popcorn, balloons, face painting, steel drums, and more. There will even be supersized Easter bunnies and a kids scavenger hunt with chocolate prizes. Kirk Freeport's Easter at Bayshore Family Event, April 20th from 4 to 6 p.m. at Bayshore Mall in Georgetown. Free parking behind the mall. Visit kirkfreeport.com for more information.
It's Radio Cayman's 43rd anniversary. And to celebrate, we're offering all clients, businesses, and nonprofits special anniversary rates on commercial advertising all through April up until Mother's Day. Increase sales, drive store traffic, and gain customers and interest by advertising on the #1 station in talk radio and news. Radio Cayman 89.9 FM. 30 or 45-second commercials are as low as $10 with 3 advertising packages to choose from. Perfectly tailored tailored for small, medium, or large businesses. Call Anita, Kathy, or Ray at 949-7799 or email rcsales@gov.ky for your Radio Cayman 43rd Anniversary Sales Package today.
This Easter weekend, the Cayman Islands will welcome the rest of the Caribbean, and you do not want to miss it. Carifta 2019 takes place at the Truman Bodden Sports Complex from April 20th to 22nd. Watch the region's most talented track and field athletes compete and come cheer on your Cayman athletes. Get ready to raise your flags at the Caribbean's biggest athletic event this Easter weekend. It's Carifta 2019. Tickets start as low as $10.
Get your tickets now at CaymanCarifta2019.ky or Funky Tanks and Reflections. Brought to you by the Cayman Islands Government, CUC, Salt Technology Group, the Cayman Islands Athletic Association, Cayman Islands Olympic Committee, DART, Miracle Brokers, Maples Group, Pinnacle Media, World Gym, and Radio Cayman.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. Thanks so much for joining us. It's a pleasure to have in the company. As I look at Tim McLaughlin Monroe and as he looks to his left, you can say, man, I work with some good people. Yeah, no wonder you're happy in your job, man. Well, joining us as part of our continuing efforts with the Health Services Authority, our EPI coordinator, Nurse Angela Graham, and she's brought along Dr. Karen Lewis-Bell, decentralized regional advisor for immunization for the Caribbean sub-region for PAHO and the the WHO.
Long title.
Long title, man. I thought Susan's title was a lot, but yours, I think, you achieved the mark. But the notion that we have this resource and this expertise within our region, and perhaps it speaks to why, maybe to an extent, we have the successes that we have when we look at other regions and some of the unfortunate outbreaks that they have. Whether it's the incidents that we see with Ebola, for instance. Not going to try to, hopefully, inadvertently either, make it sound like it's the same. But measles in a territory or in a region like this can be deadly. Can it be?
Oh, certainly. And that's one of the things that it's important to educate the population about. Measles is not just a childhood disease that, it's a mild disease. We should make sure all our children get these diseases. When we were children, we had it and we were fine. It's not so, especially in those who have weakened immune systems. And even anybody. Measles can actually cause inflammation of the brain. It can cause a pneumonia. It can cause children to become blind. So it can kill. And it can really cause serious complications, including mental retardation. And in this day and age, I firmly believe that with the availability of a safe, effective vaccine, no child should really suffer these childhood diseases that used to kill children in the past.
Right. If I may ask, has measles in particular, so the measles that we as children contracted in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, and the measles that would be today, like we hear about, is it the same virus?
Same measles virus. Yeah. And what has really helped the Caribbean for us not to see it anymore, so much so that the young mothers now don't know what measles looks like, is really the success of the vaccination programs. Simple as that.
Yeah, same thing. Some of the doctors don't even know.
Exactly.
Right. Which probably speaks to the fact that if we were conscious of utilizing the available resource, then we can keep it at bay. There are some of us, as parents, as policymakers, as different sort of hats that we wear, who may have a particular perception as to when it comes to vaccinations. With measles, are there any concerns that we should have, given that it's the same, it hasn't mutated? It's not like the cold where this season's flu shot and last season's flu shot. We have to make some changes. Dr. Carr?
So, as I know that there is a myth out there that measles causes autism. And this has been around for so long, and there are so many studies that have been done to disprove that. And it is because of this myth, this belief, that unfortunately started with a physician out of the UK that has since been struck from the General Medical Council's register. Mm-hmm. And the Lancet magazine that actually published his article had to apologize and retract the article. I think this really started the whole concern about measles and autism. And several reputable organizations, several reputable research institutes in the US, in Europe, have actually done studies and have really disproved that myth. And it is because of that myth why the uptake of the vaccine actually has fallen over the past, say, 10, 15 years. And also because the coverage for measles has fallen. This is why the UK now has measles, ongoing measles since about 2000, 2001. Many countries in Europe still have measles. And even though the region of the Americas was declared free of measles in 2016, to date we now have some 10 countries in the region of the Americas that are now having cases of measles, most of them imported from other parts of the world where measles is still causing quite a bit of disease, illness, and even death in children.
Okay, so Nurse Angela, from that perspective, though, for the Cayman context, two things: we've had some imported cases of measles, and if so, how recent, how many, and then also have we had any sort of homegrown, as it were?
Well, thankfully, we have not had any imported cases recently. We've had some scares, but we have, been on top of them very quickly. And of course, Dr. Bell here can attest to that. We call her very quickly sometimes if we suspect that we have a case, and we do the necessary groundwork, because we have to make sure that we get these persons tested. We do our contact investigation and all that. But happily for us, we haven't had a recent imported case of measles, and we hope to keep it that way.
But can I just say that there's no room for complacency? The Caribbean is at significant risk because of the influx of our tourists. And already we have had a Caribbean neighbor that has had 2 cases of measles this year. Last year, we had another Caribbean neighbor, another Caribbean island that had an importation out of the UK. The 2 cases in the Caribbean island this year were out of France. And previous to that, there are other islands, even your neighbor Jamaica has had 3 imported cases of measles and another what we call import-related case, meaning spread from the imported case. Yeah. In the past, since the last outbreak in our Caribbean in 1991. So the risk is real.
Right. And with that, as you shared, Dr. Bell, the idea that someone comes into the territory, whether they know or don't at that particular time, infect someone who doesn't have, the rate of spread can be quite rapid?
Certainly, if you have a fair number of persons in your population who are not adequately vaccinated.
Right. How is, some of us, because we don't know about it, never had it. How is it spread?
So measles is spread by what we call droplets. The virus spreads in the air when someone coughs or sneezes and doesn't cover their cough or sneeze. Mm-hmm. The measles virus can actually spread as far as 6 feet to 12 feet away from the person who is coughing or sneezing. The measles virus can also remain circulating in the air up to 2 hours after the individual who has measles, who has coughed in the atmosphere, has left the environment. And so you may not even know who has measles. And measles is infectious even before the individual has a rash. 4 days before the individual has the rash, they can spread it to others. So you could be walking in the mall, walking in the store, walking on the streets beside someone who looks healthy and well, They may have a little fever, a little runny nose, but you may not notice, and they could be coughing and sneezing. Certainly on airplanes, that's another mode of transmission of measles in a closed environment like that. So measles spreads very easily through droplets.
And even though we have been looking at measles as a childhood disease, we have to remember that adults can also pass on measles. As we have been hearing stories recently about, like young adults whose parents refuse to have them vaccinated, who are now being vaccinated because they have just discovered that they have been infected with measles or some other disease that they were not immunized against. So adults can contract measles as well. So if they're in a room with somebody who had measles and they were not vaccinated as children, then they are also susceptible, and then they can transmit it to other persons.
Just think about it, Dwayne, that every year when one or two parents refuse to get their child immunized, that builds. So over a period of 5 years, 10 years, you have what is called a build-up susceptible population. So if measles was to come to Cayman, all those children might be 2 this year, but when you add it up, it could be 10 by the end of 5 years. If two parents decide not to immunize their 2 children,
right?
So those would be the ones that would be more at risk. So they would have to come out of school if they're still school age. So it would disrupt a lot of society.
I think too, as Dr. Value shared, the idea that there is mental retardation, encephalitis, death, even. Yes. And some of us may have seen documentaries. We may have looked at, medical publications as to the impact. And we think, that was, 50 years ago, a century ago. But no, it could have been, last year.
Yeah.
With instances in developed worlds like, perhaps part of the world like the US or Europe, where this is recurring now.
Yes.
Wow. You think we have turned the corner? But for parents, though, whether it's the fear that some vaccination could lead to some other, issue, when we weigh the benefits and the costs, how do we? But maybe after the break, if we could ask from the policy perspective, both as a parent and then as a population, how do we weigh the pros and the cons? Businesses do it all the time with the cost-benefit analysis. Do we invest? Well, could you help us?
We do that in health as well. We do cost-effectiveness analysis,
right.
So we can speak
about
that.
Can we speak to that? Yes, because it may help us, Yeah. All right. And this might help you in your next exam because Susan has one prepared for you. All right, when we come back, more Talk Today.
Awake your taste at Daily Grind Cafe, Cayman's longest-running coffee shop. Enjoy our cozy ambiance at Dr. Roy Drive, Georgetown. Or visit us online to view our delectable menu and for limited-time offers at dailygrindcayman.com.
At Powerhouse Gym, where you feel like home in a multicultural energy environment for all. They are dedicated to helping you achieve your fitness goals. Whether you have decided to get in shape, train for a specific sport, boost your energy levels, or even look your best for a special day. With a variety of sports options, group fitness classes, CrossFit outdoor gym, they provide personal trainers and equipment. Powerhouse Gym, King Sports Center, offers a complete health and recreational environment for the only sports and recreational facility of its kind in the Cayman Islands. For more information, call 946-5464. Email kings@candw.ky or visit www.kingsportscenter.com. Powerhouse Gym, King Sports Center. Serious results, period.
Did you know that recycling collection containers are located island-wide on Grand Cayman? The Department of Environmental Health's program is an integral part of DEH's waste management responsibility in the Cayman Islands. Start your recycling program at home today. Put your type 1 and 2 plastics in appropriate DEH recycling containers at all Foster's supermarkets, Kirk Market, or Hurley's Grand Harbor. Please keep the Cayman Islands clean, reduce, reuse, and recycle. For more information about recycling, go to www.deh.gov.ky.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back to Talk Today. Thanks for joining us as we talk about, vaccination week in Americas. Protect your community, do your part. Get vaccinated. In the studio, the EPI coordinator from the HSA, Nurse Angela Graham, together with Dr. Karen Lewis Bell from PAHO, and their escort, their chaperone, their protector, the good company of the handsome fella, Tim McLaughlin Monroe. Hey, Tim, you're just not here for your looks, man. Thanks for bringing that big brain of yours as well. But with the greatest of respect, I think sometimes as parents, in today's climate where there seems to be so much information or disinformation, confusion at times, we always want to make the best decisions. And we see different things and competing and conflicting. But if we were looking at vaccinating our children and not vaccinating the children, generally, but specifically relative to measles, and I believe, as you shared, we get the MMR, measles, mumps, rubella together. Dr. Karen, help us to weigh that, the pros and the cons, the costs and the benefits.
So countries generally would look at, certainly when they're trying to introduce a new vaccine, they look at what are the other options to prevent this disease. So they can actually look at the cost of introducing the vaccine or the cost of other interventions. They can look at the cost of the disease itself, including the complications. So there would be health costs in terms of admissions to hospital, complications, long-term care. There's also societal cost. Cost to the parents when they have to stay home from work, the child can't go to daycare, that sort of thing. Loss of income if the parents can't work because they have to stay home and look after the child. But the World Health Organization has done studies, and it has been proven over and over again that vaccination is one of the most cost-effective interventions in health. For the cost of the vaccine, in terms of what it saves in terms of the child's life, in terms of what it saves in terms of preventing hospitalization and long-term care for the complications, the return on vaccination is 1,000 times more than the actual cost of the vaccine. I know many people have complaints or concerns about the vaccine may give the child a fever, the vaccine may make the child a little irritable. And I jokingly say it, but I'm very serious when I say that if your child has a fever, generally a mild fever, after vaccination, that is proof that the vaccine is working, because that's your body's immune response to the vaccine, because a vaccine is given for the body to make its own proteins to fight against a disease should you be exposed to it later in life. And a fever is one of the symptoms of that immune system working. Of course, if the fever gets too high, then we'd have to address that. But generally speaking, vaccines are very cost effective. And when you look at the cost of a measles, mumps, rubella vaccine compared to what it would cost you if your child was admitted, and certainly we can't value death. We can't put a cost really to life, in terms of a child dying. And so, there are several studies that countries have done to show that vaccines are quite cost effective.
And the safety aspect of it as well. I mean, do we know that, to the vaccine in particular, out of, X number admitted and administered, why not?
So vaccines are like any drug. You can have some unwanted side effects. But from the measles, mumps, rubella vaccine and other vaccines, these are usually very mild. Most vaccines are given as an injection that punctures the skin, and just like a mosquito bite or a bee sting, you may get some pain, redness, and swelling at the site of the injection. Systemically, as I said, you may end up with a fever. Some people may have a mild rash, but that is not the disease. It's just how the vaccine works. But generally speaking, vaccines are very safe. Very, very, very rarely, and it can happen with food, it can happen with any drugs, and we can't predict who it will happen with. Some people get an allergic reaction. And so, when vaccines are given, the nurses and the staff are generally prepared to manage that should it occur. But it's very rare, like 1 in a million. But it can happen from food, from any other medication or over-the-counter drugs.
Okay. Now, with that, Nurse Angela, when we look at sort of vaccination week in Americas, our activities here, what do you want to share with our public?
Okay, so for us in the Cayman Islands, the high point of our vaccination week activities this year is the measles outbreak response training workshop. However, we had to bring it forward a little bit because vaccination week is going to go right in the heart of the Easter break. So we had to, Dr. Bell wasn't going to be available during that week, so we had to forward the visit to this week. So we are still considering this a part of our vaccination week activities. We're also going to, as we said before, we're going to be having a special makeup or catch-up clinic on April 27 especially for children who have missing doses of the measles, mumps, rubella vaccine. However, that's not all there is to it because we have children who are behind in other vaccines as well. So we're going to be we're going to be inviting them to come in as well to get their vaccinations on that day.
All right, so not this Saturday, which is Easter, but the following Saturday.
The following week, Saturday.
And that'll be where for the makeup clinic?
That's going to be at the public health clinic at the Georgetown Hospital.
And only not the district health centers, but just at the Georgetown Hospital?
The district health centers will be joining us at the public health.
All right, so that's...
But the nurses at the health centers, they will also be looking at their target populations within their districts too. So for those persons who can't come to public health, they will be doing their activities during vaccination week as well.
And just for absolute clarity, target audience, young or anybody who hasn't had, just remind us again, please.
Okay, we are focusing on children, especially those persons, say for example 12 years and under, who have not had. That doesn't mean that if you are an adult, especially as Dr. Bell said, if you're 30, in your 30s, 20s, and especially persons who work in the tourism sector, persons who work in any activity that you are exposed to tourists, like your taxi drivers, your immigration officers and those persons, they can always come and get themselves immunized.
Would it be appropriate to share then if there's someone here who isn't sure that they've been vaccinated or may have had one dose and pretty sure they haven't had the second dose, even the adult, what should that person do? Speak to their GP? What should that person who's living and working here?
Well, there's no harm in getting if it's not recorded, we just consider it not given,
right?
And so we would immunize them. However, for persons who are particular and want to be sure that they need it, then there is a blood test that they can do.
Okay, so speak to the physician, come in.
Right.
But if you're scared of needles like me, like to give them but don't like taking them, then you would just skip the test and just get the vaccine.
Because you're getting into it, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. And you can't drink it, you have to get it injected.
Certainly. Can I just add, though, that Cayman is not the only island that's observing Vaccination Week. This is actually the 17th year that all countries in the region of the Americas is observing Vaccination Week. And ironically, Vaccination Week started as an initiative of the presidents of Colombia and Venezuela when the Americas had the last big outbreak of endemic measles in 2002. And so they thought this was an opportunity to work together as countries to really increase the awareness of the public of the importance of immunization and to keep it high on the political agenda so that persons can understand the benefit of vaccines. And since Vaccination Week started in 2003, some 740 million persons in the Americas have received some sort of vaccine or intervention. Countries are free to do whatever they want to do during Vaccination Week. And the success of Vaccination Week in the Americas is such that all other regions of the world now have their own immunization week. And the Caribbean, spearheaded by Barbados and other countries, Jamaica and Trinidad and Ghana and other countries as a Caribbean body, they proposed a resolution to the World Health Assembly in 2012 to now have a World Immunization Week. And this is now going to be the 7th year that World Immunization Week is going to be observed. And so all of those weeks, each region, the region of the Americas and the world, the last week in April is considered World Immunization Week, Vaccination Week in the Americas, and vaccination week in all of the regions of the world. So it's a very important thing that Cayman is playing its part in a bigger global activity to promote the benefits of vaccination.
I think it speaks to the fact that, the incidents here and the way we've been able to be, vigilant and also contain. But Nurse Angela, from that perspective, as we look at summer coming and students, whether you're entering university, whether going off to other educational pursuits, many places require students from other jurisdictions to be vaccinated. Is that my understanding? And is this one of them that potentially, whether they go into the US, Canada, or other parts, they would need to show that they're vaccinated?
This is one of the vaccines that is essential. It's on every single document that we get from the universities overseas. The measles, mumps, rubella, and the hepatitis B vaccines. So they're two of the vaccines that, especially when they are going to be working in health services, if they're going to be living on dormitories, these are the vaccines that they always. These are not just a recommended vaccine. These are the mandatory vaccines.
Yeah.
And it's also important for immigration as well. Persons who are migrating to Canada, to the US, the UK, these are also requirements for immigration.
Right. And I appreciate you sharing that, because I think some of us get surprised when we, when we're visiting, because we want to live there forever, whether we're going to school. We find out that, sorry, you can meet all the other requirements, but where's your vaccination? And we think, what do you mean? I refused that for whatever reason. But nope, sorry, you need to get it. All right. Any questions would be the best thing to speak to your physician, come over to the public health. Would that be the best way forward for adults or whoever have questions or concern?
They can speak to their doctors. They can come to public health, and we are happy to have dialogue with them about their vaccination needs.
Okay, if you call me, I will direct you over there. This is one of the things I want to ask.
The workshop starting tomorrow. I don't know if you want to elaborate on that some more.
Okay, so the workshop is going to be over 2 days, Tuesday and Wednesday, the 16th and 17th of April, and it will include persons in the health services in the public and private sector, and just reminding those persons who are invited to make sure that they attend. It's going to be great. Public and private sector,
healthcare workers, physicians, and talk show hosts. I'm sorry. Just tell you what he said. Dr. Bell, it was a pleasure. I thought Tim alone would be the one to let the room, but thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
And you're in great company with Nurse Angela. You guys are fantastic. It's a tireless job, but thanks very much for doing it.
Thank you too, Dwayne.
It's challenging at times. Many of us have questions about it, but you make it so easy. Any sort of final closing quick thoughts? Nurse Angela, you may want to remind us again, the 27th, we know that there is the opportunity to get a make-up injections and vaccinations, but anything else you want to share with us?
I just want to remind us that we are very fortunate to live in a region of the world where vaccination is available. In most of our country, it is free of cost to the public, like it is in the Cayman Islands. You don't have to pay for it, so it can't be a matter of persons who can afford it will be immunized and those who can't. The government has committed to investing in providing vaccines for the members of the public. So we are asking the members of the public to show their appreciation by making sure that their children are immunized. And please come out, support us on the 27th so that we can make up for the deficit that we have, any deficit we'll have in our vaccination coverage.
All right. Well, thanks very much. And as usual, anytime we can help to, inform and educate the public, let us know. Tim, I hope you get a chance to join us again some more time. No problem. Enjoy your stay with us. Have happy Easter to you, Dr. Bell.
Thank you.
All right, let's pause and take a break. We'll have things in store for you, but 1:30 in particular, Mr. Daniel Moxon will sit next to us. Always good to hear from him. So please, stay tuned for Talk Today.
Did you know your home is wasting electricity right now? Appliances or electronic devices can use electricity even when they are not in use or switched off. Also known as energy vampires, things like your cable box and microwave are wasting your valuable money. Don't let these devices keep sucking your power. To save money, simply group these devices together on a power strip and turn off the strip when it's not in use. Visit the Ministry of Commerce, Planning and Infrastructure's Facebook page for more tips on keeping your home energy efficient. Be an energy advocate.
This Easter Saturday, hop down to Bayshore Mall for Kirk Freeport's Easter at Bayshore Family Event. Join us on Saturday, April 20th from 4 to 6 p.m. for refreshments, cotton candy, popcorn, balloons, face painting, steel drums, and more. There will even be supersized Easter bunnies and a kids scavenger hunt with chocolate prizes. Kirk Freeport's Easter at Bayshore Family Event, April 20th from 4 to 6 p.m. at Bayshore Mall in Georgetown. Free parking behind the mall. Visit KirkFreeport.com for more information.
Continuing the Caymanian tradition.
Let Cora keep my ground so clean.
The heart and soul of the Cayman people. Thank you for keeping the culture alive.
Spread the news every day. From East End to Georgetown, down into West Bay.
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Radio Cayman.
Headline. Radio Cayman's newsroom. Headline. These are the right now.
Colors Cayman say they are disappointed with the appeal court's ruling on same-sex marriages. They say they are disheartened with the decision which they believe nullifies Chief Justice Anthony Smelly's landmark ruling that legalized same-sex marriages in Cayman. In a press release, Colors Cayman says same-sex couple Chantel Day and Vicky Bodden-Bush fought for this monumental victory only to ultimately be forced to postpone their long-awaited ceremony and endure a barrage of attacks from the public as well as prominent members of the government. They tell Radio Cayman they want basic human rights for everyone in Cayman. Good afternoon, I'm Dion Anglin with your headlines and news elsewhere. A fire has broken out at the famous Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris. The cause is not yet clear, but officials say it could be linked to renovation work. Images on social media show plumes of smoke billowing into the air above the 850-year-old Gothic building. Italian police have arrested 34 people allegedly involved in a bone-breaking medical insurance scam in Sicily. The perpetrators allegedly broke people's limbs and staged road accidents in exchange for part of their insurance payout. The scam was first uncovered when one individual died after being beaten. And one of the world's rarest turtles, a Yangtze giant softshell, has died in China, leaving just 3 known survivors of the species. The female turtle, Rafita swinoi, died in southern China. Experts had tried to artificially inseminate the creature, which was over 90 years old, for a 5th time shortly before she died. That's a wrap of your headlines. I'm Dion Anglin.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
What's happening in your community? News and information, music and more. You can find us. www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman.
It's Radio Cayman's 43rd anniversary. And to celebrate, we're offering all clients, businesses, and nonprofits special anniversary rates on commercial advertising all through April up until Mother's Day. Increase sales, drive store traffic, and gain customers and interest by advertising on the #1 station in talk radio and news. Radio Cayman 89.9 FM. 30 or 45-second commercials are as low as $10 with 3 advertising packages to choose from. Perfectly tailored for small, medium, or large businesses. Call Anita, Kathy, or Ray at 949-7799 or email rcsales@gov.ky for your Radio Cayman 43rd anniversary sales package today.
The Tuesday and Thursday edition of The Business Buzz is brought to you by Cayman Medical Supplies, providing quality pharmaceuticals, medical supplies, and consumer products to healthcare providers, retailers, and ultimately the patients at a reasonable rate in a friendly, caring, and timely manner. Cayman Medical Supplies is located at number 93 Smith Road, Windward Center. Telephone 949-6211.
Praise time.
Praise him, praise him. Praise him, praise him.
Weekdays 6 to 6:30 a.m.
Early this morning, I woke from my sleep.
Radio Cayman, waking you up with Praise Time.
Up in heaven, roll
soul in the blues of my faith in your hand. Rock my soul in the blues of my faith in your hand.
Praise time.
I know he cares. He'll always be there. Oh, yeah. Praise him, praise him, praise him,
praise time.
Set your clock for 6 a.m. or you will miss it.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us. As we remind you, 1:30, Mr. Daniel Moxon will be our guest. But right now, I have the distinct pleasure and privilege to welcome to our studio Pastor Torrance Bob, together with Ms. Katina Anglin, and we get a chance to invite the public to be part of the National Day of Prayer tomorrow, but also give a brief sort of update and review of Saturday's historical occurrence. Pastor, welcome, sir.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure to see you again. I hope you found the parking to be okay.
Well, I always find good parking.
The valet was all right, no problems?
No problems.
All right, great stuff, man. I mean, we rolled out the this kid. Ms. Norma's like, man, he's advocate. No, man, I must commend our facilities management team. They really do great to try to accommodate us. And the service personnel, if I call them over at the attendant at the gate to let us in. Most government buildings, even in the region, increasingly, it's difficult. Ours, it's so pleasant. All the staff are so accommodating to help us, So, very grateful that we still live in a peaceful, civil, cordial community. So, but tomorrow, I think that part of maybe why we have that, even those who don't subscribe or who, like me, don't attend as often, probably benefit from those who still very much engaged in the spiritual realm and fighting that battle on our behalf. So.
Yes, you spoke about the peaceful and cordial community.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think good things happen by chance. Even though they happen by chance, if you're going to maintain it, you have to work at it. And so I don't believe that our community is enjoying the peace and prosperity that we have been enjoying for many, many years just by chance.
Yeah.
I believe it's by design. It's by the way the people here have applied themselves down through the years. And, there was a scripture I was thinking about as I came in. It says, "Blessed is the nation whose God is the Lord." Mm-hmm. And God said, "They that honor me, I will honor." And I think it's great credit to our people, our government, that we can have this National Day of Prayer every year. And so it's going to be tomorrow at 12 noon, right on the grounds of the old glass house.
And if you would help me, I mean, this wasn't intended, but as you said, I'm thinking to two great countries, the UK and the US. The US, we know, have a National Day of Prayer, right? In Washington, D.C., their politicians, serving and former, many of their business leaders assemble every year, and there is, maybe on a greater scale, the same thing that we have in tomorrow, where we have the parliamentary prayer breakfast, as they do in the US. But in the UK, as our Legislative Assembly meets, their parliament open with prayer as well, praying for the Queen and leadership, praying for all those. It's not just hopeful a tradition. It's about inviting a sense of civility, of blessings, as it were.
Yes, and I do not think that we can take good governance for granted. Mm-hmm. And God is the one who really established governmental order. And when governments consult with Him, with God, and when they acknowledge Him, that does not go unnoticed by the great God of the universe.
Right.
And, as you read historically, nations that would honor God, God will honor them. He will bless them. But nations that dishonor God, dishonor His word, after a while they just fall in the trash heap.
Is it then in the scriptures where you talk about the nation where its leaders, sort of follow God, or if they turn away, you see, as you shared, the whole notion of the blessings and the curses. Now, for some, that may just be stories, but for others, they can see the strong correlation, blessings following.
Yeah. In my mind, as you read both secular history and biblical history, you see there's a direct correlation between nations that will obey God and follow the dictates of scriptures and those that will not. I mean, sometimes we tend to forget history. We tend to forget where we have come from. We tend to forget what has happened in the past. But nations that honor God and put God first, those nations, they last a long time. But nations that will just dishonor God and marginalize the Bible. And of course, one of the things that we're having today is that the scripture is being marginalized, is just being taken as any other book. But we do that to our own demise.
Seek ye first the kingdom of God.
Yeah.
And I mean, the wonder I about it seems to know when we talk about, if a people, who call by name would humble themselves, we fail to sometimes to appreciate it. Now, tomorrow is the National Day of Prayer.
Yeah, tomorrow at 12 noon. And it has been so designed that people can take their lunch hour, come in at 12 o'clock, 12:05, whatever time they can come, and we finish by about 10 minutes to 1 so that they can grab something and go back to work. But I think it's a great thing when people in a nation can come together and pray. And in the past, we've had many of the governmental leaders coming and joining us in prayer, and this is something that we really do appreciate.
And again, I not that I'm sitting in the Legislative Assembly in any capacity, but the fact that as the day's activities in business gets underway, they open with prayer. It's part of it, For those who look at the Hansards, it's been there from, sort of day one. They open so it isn't that we're doing something unusual.
I was looking at the Youth Parliament the other day, and I saw the young lady, the young speaker, opening in prayer. I thought that was such a wonderful thing. Yeah. And we should not take what is happening in this nation for granted. I believe that the hand of God is upon this nation to help us, and we should do nothing to change that. And this is why we should gather together for prayer. We should continue to observe his precepts, his teachings, because as we do, we will be assured of his blessings and his protection. But if we don't, things are not going to work out well.
Amen.
I think, sorry, can I?
I don't know, can you? Go ahead. Of course.
Speaking of prayer in the assembly, right? When Minister Juliana O'Connolly got up to pray, I think that was the Thursday, because I think the discussions began on the Wednesday. She got up to pray on the Thursday. And it was almost as though it was impossible for her not to launch into that prayer. And she said, this is a bit unorthodox, and she went straight into the prayer. And I think that today, we're speaking about the nation that honors God. And we see even in our assembly, where our elected representatives, our politicians, those members of the Legislative Assembly, are calling on God for his intervention and for his empowerment. And in a day and age where many nations and many leaders are decrying the existence of God, to see that here in this country, on all platforms, the pastor and the politician and the people are all calling on God, I think the world looking at us must eitherwise be in great support, and there are those who I think are also in disdain because they do not have that relationship with God anymore, and they have come to a probate mind, But I think the movement of God in this country over the last couple of weeks has been incredible. I mean,
I think as I listen
historical.
When Pastor Bob was sharing with the Youth Assembly, the youth, the children, emanate what the adults do oftentimes. And yes, the Youth Assembly and the Youth Parliament is there to hopefully train, expose, introduce, future parliamentarians, policymakers, and the like. But they're doing what is hopefully not just habitual, custom, and traditional, but it means something. And I think the scripture talks about life and death is in the tongue. Mm-hmm. So whether you knowingly say something, understanding the consequence, you could be invoking and inviting a blessing or otherwise. Mm-hmm. So go for the former, I would think, right, Pastor?
Yeah. And what encourages me, I do quite a lot of school assemblies, and it's so heartening to see the young children praying, singing the choruses, reading the Bible, honoring God. And I think we have to commend our teachers for the great work that they are doing in our schools. And this is the kind of thing that we really should continue. And we must continue if we are to enjoy the peace and the prosperity and the progress that we are enjoying. We should never think that honoring God is antiquated. What is happening to many countries is that they feel that if they don't stick with biblical values, they are going to be left behind. And that is really a myth. That is really the kind of thing that will destroy us.
I think as I said that, I'm reminded, may not be intended to be verbatim quote, but, when the U.S. President Roosevelt talked about you educate a man in mind and not in morals, you educate a menace to society. You're talking about that spiritual sort of enrichment as well. We'll pause quickly. Miss Susan, is that what we're sharing with us? We have a break? No? Yeah. See, I got to pay attention because she's the boss. when we come back, not just talk more about the day tomorrow, but Miss Tina, could we invite you to share with us on Saturday?
Sure.
Give us a little perspective.
Sure.
And then 1:30, Mr. Daniel Moxon will join us and have a chance to chat with him for the remaining hour. So stay tuned for Talk Today.
At Seaboard Marine, customers often ask us questions about their shipments.
I have various items coming from different suppliers that I need to ship to Cayman. Do you offer consolidation?
Yes. Seaboard Marine offers consolidation for full and less than container loads. We can hold your packages at our Miami warehouse until everything arrives and ship it all in one go. And we have the best rates to Grand Cayman. Visit seaboardmarine.com for more information.
Shipping shore to shore,
Money Sense, bringing an informed financial perspective to the Cayman community. Brought to you by the CFA Society Cayman Islands and sponsored by One Trade X. Tune into Money Sense this Thursday, 7:30 a.m. as we interview the victorious team from UCCI that recently won the Pan-Caribbean Research Challenge with the CFA Institute. Listen to them discuss the competition, the company they researched, and their plans for their upcoming appearance in the finals in New York City. Money Sense this Thursday at 7:30 a.m. exclusively on Radio Cayman. Follow us or message us on Twitter at Money Sense Radio. Money Sense, the only personal finance radio show in the Cayman Islands. Brought to you with the support of One Trade X.
This Easter weekend, the Cayman Islands will welcome the rest of the Caribbean, and you do not want to miss it. Carifta 2019 takes place at the Truman Bodden Sports Complex from April 20th to 22nd. Watch the region's most talented track and field athletes compete and come cheer on your Cayman athletes. Get ready to raise your flags at the Caribbean's biggest athletic event this Easter weekend. It's Carifta 2019. Tickets start as low as $10.
Get your tickets now at CaymanCarifta2019.ky or Funky Tanks and Reflections. Brought to you by the Cayman Islands Government, CUC, Salt Technology Group, the Cayman Islands Athletic Association, Cayman Islands Olympic Committee, DART, Miracle Brokers, Maples Group, Pinnacle Media, World Gym, and Radio Cayman.
Talk today.
But I do have some questions.
Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Welcome back to Talk Today. In the studio, the excellent company of Pastor Torrance Bob and Miss Katina Anglin. And the invitation is for the community wide and near to attend tomorrow at the Glass House.
Yes, that's the annual National Day of Prayer sponsored by the Cayman Ministers Association. It's at 12 noon and people will be dismissed in time so that they can go back to their jobs. We really would like everyone to make that effort to join us tomorrow at 12 noon. On the grounds of the Glass House.
I know it's more to sound, sort of like a cliche or any which way, but just come as you are.
Come as you are, yes. Yeah.
Okay. You don't need to bring anything, just come. It's prayer, that's it.
That's it. And people will, get a chance to sing some choruses and so on. And of course, we have to remember, this is Easter week. We commemorate the death and resurrection of the Lord Jesus Christ. So I think this is a great time for us to come together and honor God.
I want to invite Miss Katina, but as you said, I was just reminded, it's Easter. So many are coming here to visit family and friends, coming for vacation. And, someone who hadn't been here for quite a while shared that it's so, I use the word refreshing and enlightening, but here in this country, and the fact that you can do these things publicly. Doesn't matter whether it's in a park or it's a public building, whether it's in a private residence. You can do this. You can pray in a restaurant. And yet there are some countries that we visit that we probably have lived in where you can't do that.
But very interesting. Last year we had the governor participating
Yes, sir.
in the National Day of Prayer. And he was really pleasantly surprised and amazed that we can come together in that fashion. He was very, very encouraged by that.
Yeah. And it's something that, I know, but they're my friends, so like me, they're big sinners, right? And they go, wow, to think that you can do this without fear of people, ridicule you and being injured. And that's not the case in some other supposedly civilized developers. We're not talking about those places that we call to be this, that, and the next thing. We're talking about places that are not far from here. And even the UK and the US and the like.
US, yeah.
And that's not, I'm not trying to be disparaging, but don't take for granted. That beautiful head of hair that I had once, I didn't take it for granted, but it's no longer. You see that? It's gone. No.
I was just pointing out the obvious truth, too. Just like how you were pointing out about the situation in the US and the UK.
I don't need you to do that. No, in that jest, I think sometimes, sadly, we take too much for granted. And without, as Pastor Bob said right at the outset, don't take things for granted like that. You have to work at it. That thing that we all enjoy probably came because of the service, the sacrifice, the diligence, the diligence and perseverance of others. Miss Tina, on Saturday, tell us what, from your perspective, there was a gathering equally. What was it like?
It was. Am I limited to one adjective, or can I just feel free?
Miss Susan says you can have adjectives to the power N. You go right ahead, Mom. Go right ahead.
It was awesome. It was an awesome event. The estimates are that about 3,000 people showed up, based on the pictures from different angles, from various angles. I would concur that those estimates are right, because they were all about across the courthouse steps, under the trees. There were people who said they couldn't get there because the road was blocked and they weren't sure about the parking, and so they parked in a shade spot and listened to it on The Voice, and so it was toned in across the island as well. So their non-physical participation as well we'll never really be able to calculate, but physically present was about 3,000 people. And it was a wonderful event, and if I can continue on with my vote of thanks from Saturday. It's not that the vote of thanks was that long, that it lasted from Saturday until now. It is on Saturday I got a bit excited, and I did not get the chance to thank the remainder of the persons on my list, and I don't think that even now I am still able to do full justice in thanking everyone who brought forward a thought that helped to bring it together and participated in some way, because there were people who showed up and helped to put the chairs out, and so we don't even know them by name. They played a role, and it was really incredible to see how God just brought this all together. And what we saw on Saturday was effort by a very small body in comparison to the whole scheme of things, but the power of God and the hand of God in this was very, very obvious, because it could not have been done on the human power or human might. What happened on Saturday, that was simply, purely by the power of the Holy Spirit. That was a spiritual movement that happened in this country. I want to apologize for Miss Helene Coley Nicholson, who was unable to join us today. And I want to say thanks to the Legislative Assembly for permission to stand on the steps, to the Ministry of Education for use of the library parking lot, to the Royal Cayman Islands Police Service for ensuring public safety, blocking the roads, maintaining the traffic flow and everything, so that the rest of the people who were attending or not attending were able to transit easily. A very special thank you to Webster's Transport. Kenrick is amazing. I mean, honestly, if it's something to do with a community service, you can be sure Kenrick and his bus is going to be there. Thank you, Kenrick. To Hopscotch Studios, Part of Source celebrations, and to the individual churches for their contributions as well, to the Cayman Ministers Association and the Cayman Islands Conference of Seventh-day Adventists. Earlier when we were speaking about the nation who calls God their Lord, I think the personal irritation that I have in this is that this is a nation that even before we had the 1972 Constitution was built on Christian values, and today we want to discard those values. Not the people of the soil that want to do this. It is the other influences, and it's come under this umbrella of human rights. And you know, I'm looking at this and I'm saying, well, if you're going to rip my social, my cultural, my religious rights, my freedom of speech, my freedom of expression from me, where's the whole human rights ambit in this thing? There's an old saying that says, when you go to Rome, live as the Romans do. I think as travellers, you've been off the island, Pastor Bob, and so have you, Dwayne.
Not this year, though.
Not this year? I can speak to the government about that for you.
Would you please?
Should I apply for extended vacation for you too?
No, Miss Norma, but he better take the one he got now.
Yeah, we do a bit of research, right? I have said before that I am not in a rush to go to the Arabian countries, the Muslim countries, because the way that I think and I behave in this country may be deemed as offensive to them. So I'm not in a rush to go there because I don't want to offend them, and I also don't want to get in trouble with them. All right? Now, where then should I entertain this onslaught of ideology? Right? Why should I entertain it? That you're coming to my island, you're here on a work permit, you're here on a contract. There are but very few Caymanians who's part and parcel of this ideology. I'm not saying that they aren't Caymanians. That would not be true. The majority of this pressure is being applied by outside forces, outside influences, by the people who have come from overseas and are in high places in this country. Why should I give up my religious rights, my right to believe, my right to pray, right? Why should I give up my right as a parent, my parental responsibility to help to guide my child and how they should be raised, and leave that for an education system that will force my child into thought processes such as you're born with a penis but you could be a girl? And add to all of that confusion. I mean, when have we agreed universally that children should have a polluted mind? Hasn't it always been that children should not be exposed to certain sexual activity and pornography and all of that? And now it's a part of the education curriculum that's brought about because of the LGBT agenda. And there are people in this country who's saying, well, as long as they don't bring it around me. Pastor Andrew brought that point out the other day. I had spoken on that on Ruth Anna's show the other afternoon. I was glad that he brought it out to a much broader population. As long as you don't bring it around me, well, Caymanians need to start doing some research about the LGBT agenda, about its indoctrination, about its imposition through the education system. We also need to... Pastor Bob was speaking just now about the continuance of prayer in the country and devotion in the country. We need to start looking at really who our educators are and what messages that they are really sending. Because I remember when a couple of months ago, there was a flyer sent out to parents at one of the primary schools in Cayman. As a matter of fact, let me tell you which one it was. It was West Bay Primary School. Understanding your child's sexuality. And one of the pastors stepped up on it, inquired about it, called the Department of Education Service. That was never presented to the public. Now, when you start talking about understanding your child's sexuality of a reception-age child, I think we're taking this thing a little bit too far. And if you're thinking that, as long as you don't bring it around me, that there's going to be some insulation from the agenda for each individual so we can move around in this protective bubble away from the agenda. I just want to let the people of Cayman Islands know it doesn't work like that. It's either you're going to get wise to how this thing works and you're going to stand up for your children and your grandchildren, or you're going to be forced into that type of thinking and mentality. And if you think I'm telling you anything less than the truth, you need to go do your own research. Certainly, don't take my word for it. Go make yourself wiser to the fact that people are perishing for the lack of knowledge. Because we sit down and everything that drops in our ears, we absorb it. And surely then people must know what they're talking about because they're white and they're educated. And I say white not in a prejudiced sense of mind, but in the slave thinking mentality, right? I can't say anything about that because I might get fired and so on and so forth. You sit down, you let people take your rights away from you, they're going to take it away from you. You sit down, you make me take it away, I can take it away too. All right? And that's just simply how things work. And people are able to remove your rights simply because you don't know what they are and you don't know how to apply them. And if I can, since we're on the topic of rights, if I can just get this out there, there is no universal declaration in which you will find gay rights. The ECHR does not have a definition for gay rights. As a matter of fact, it said they don't exist. You can't find it in a Universal Declaration of Human Rights. You can't find it in the UN. You don't find it anywhere. This is a theory and a convolution of words that's been presented to the public, and they have said it so many times that it now seems to be true. But it's untrue. There is nothing in this world there is not a right in this world called gay rights. There is this umbrella that has been stretched over all of our heads called human rights, and they were designed for a specific purpose. And it's so incredible because Winston Churchill helped found the Council of Europe, which helped found the ECHR, from which we have, and there was the UN Declaration of Human Rights and all of this. But if you look back about the history of Winston Churchill and his view of human beings in the massacre in India, where he looked at the Indians and he called them savage beasts, all right? And now you have this thing called human rights, brought by someone who already had a preconceived notion of who was human, who was not. And it's something that people need to wake up to, because if you're thinking that you have a right of access to something, even though it is wrong for the rest of society, is going to bring a negative effect on society, is it then really a right? I don't think so.
Mm-hmm. Well, Ms. Tina, perhaps as we look at the whole issue, I mean, we can have this continued dialogue, and maybe it's healthy, Pastor, that we are willing to not only be informed, but to be civil, to be able to constructively and very, critically evaluate what's unfolding globally, not just locally, and have this engaged discussion. And as Ms. Tina shared, get informed. Search. Tomorrow, Pastor, we're inviting the public.
Yes.
All right.
National Day of Prayer tomorrow, 12 noon, on the grounds of the Glass House.
Okay.
All persons are invited.
Right. Tomorrow. Well, thanks very much. We have going to pause, take a break. We have our guests coming up. When we come back, we'll take our calls and then we'll see what happens. Ms. Tina, I know you've got to get back into your studies, but final thoughts from you?
Also, we are still on our 21-day prayer and fasting for the country. And if you would contact the First Assembly of God, which is the offices of the Cayman Minister Association, you can also get an updated list for where the different churches are hosting and the method that they're hosting their day of prayer and service as we continue on in the 21-day of prayer and fasting. And if I can invite all of Cayman to participate in this, because prayer is powerful. And it would be awesome if we could not see the lawn of the glass house tomorrow.
So many people. All right. Hey, thanks very much, Ms. Tina. All right, Pastor, enjoy it. And then as we look at these two, we recognize it. We invite you to call us. When we come back, we invite Daniel to be our guest. So stay tuned for Talk Today.
Awake your taste at Daily Grind Cafe, Cayman's longest-running coffee shop. Enjoy our cozy ambiance at Dr. Roy Drive, Georgetown. Or visit us online to view our delectable menu and for limited-time offers at dailygrindcayman.com.
Why my wife always asking if I'm in a rush when she's the one always making us late?
Might as well say, yeah, I'm in a rush and go buy the new Toyota Rush you've been talking about. Cause they on sale this month. Dial teacher.
The super special spring SUV sale at Vant Motors. Save up to $4,400 with SUVs starting at only $23,500 like the 7-seater Toyota Rush. Save money, get cash back, or use the discount to upgrade features on the SUV of your choice, including the Toyota RAV4, the Fortuner, the Rush, or the Ford EcoSport. It's our super special spring SUV sale. Only at Vant Motors, Walkers Road.
Headlines.
With the latest headlines.
Headlines.
All the news when you want it. Tune in to Radio Cayman for hourly headlines of the day's top stories.
One of Cayman's bright and shining young stars.
Local, regional, international.
Headlines.
Turning to international news. Updates on the hour between 7 a.m. and 6 p.m. on weekdays. Radio Cayman News.
Headlines.
Your voice, your choice for today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman, maintaining the innovation.
On a daily basis, making it easy to connect with you, our listeners. Add us to WhatsApp today, 925-3261. That's 925-3261.
Radio Cayman.
Send a text or voice note.
Can I send a request, please?
You don't really have to ask us. Just send a request.
This is a shout out to my ex.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
Radio Cayman, maintaining the innovation.
Country classics.
Well, I was born to coal miner's daughter.
On the road again. They're gonna put me in the movies.
Papa Top again.
Out in the West Texas town of El Paso. Because you're mine, I walk the line.
Well, I love
country classics.
Young love, first love.
You never count your money when you're sitting at the table.
If you enjoy classic country music, come hang out with Radio Cayman this Saturday, 3:30 to 6 p.m.
In the Mississippi cotton picking Delta town.
This Saturday afternoon, following American Country Countdown, 3:30 to 6 on Radio Cayman.
Just walk on by. Wait on the corner.
Country classics.
Talk today. But I do have some questions.
Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. Thanks so much for joining us. And it's a pleasure again to be able to welcome to our studio. Been too long that we had him in the studio, so Daniel Mock. So, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Dwayne.
And blessings to the Easter for you and the family, man.
Same to you and everybody listening, the public, you know.
Yeah, man. I'm hoping that people will get a chance to join us, and I'm hoping that as we start to look at the Cayman context, that we appreciate, at least here on Talk Today anyway, we want to open up the spectrum to as wide as possible. How the audience appreciate that there are many of us who gradually becoming more comfortable, Caymanians in particular, talking publicly.
Right.
You've called us. There's a couple of the guys like yourselves who I hope to have in the studio if their schedules will allow, so that we can hear, their perspective.
Yeah.
I mean, Rambo would be a great guy to get on someday, but he's so busy. Maybe he'll hear and say, "Hey, what? I can get on."
Yeah. Shout out to him too. If you're listening.
Yeah.
It's always good to try to make sure you take the time to speak when you know when it's time to speak. You know, make sure you got that in your head. That you're going to do that.
I think too the taking that time to speak, to share your perspective, but equally those of us who would take time to listen. And try to understand.
Listen more. Yeah. And try to see where other people coming from.
It's unfortunate, when you watch, I call it communication. Not probably the best way, because there's only one person talking and the next person not listening. But to be able to have that opportunity for you to share, okay, what did you say? And ask a question. Active, engaged, listening.
Right.
It's taxing and tiring, I can tell you. But it's worth it.
It's worth it. Yeah. It's worth it, and it's good to have somebody that most of the time do see things how you see it, how you see them, you know.
Yeah.
It's always good to get a different.
But also too, is it then that in the Cayman context again, it's probably
Cayman.
the same area, but here, this is where our bread is buttered, right? We will potentially we may have somebody who is saying something that is worthwhile hearing, but because of our perception of that person, maybe the district the person is from, the family the person, the job the person has, the person's sort of past, whatever that reason is, right? We've assigned a label to that person. We have a perception of that person. We don't want to hear what that person going to say at all.
No.
Why is that? I mean,
I don't know. We should know that people do change, you know. People can change, and people have the will to change.
Yeah.
But if it's something holding them back from changing, sometimes they might just shout out.
Yeah. But it's not even the case where the person, what's that story, you know, the boy who cried wolf, or run around, the chicken in the sky is falling. It's not even in those instances. It's just that you look at this person and we say, oh, you know, that's so and so, whatever.
Yeah.
And we don't want to hear.
Yeah. That is. It's something like a tattoo you get almost just because either you decide to question things or question the way how things are perceived.
All right. I say that, and I want to ask you because I've said this to you, and I'll say this publicly, and if you think it's inappropriate, you tell me. But I look at you. I see somebody who is smart, who is willing to get information. So you go online, you question the source, you look at it, and you say, okay, well, wait. So that to me is, you know, not just being smart, but being astute and trying to appreciate, well, how does this connect to that, and how does it relate to that, what if this was that, and so on. And then you share that information, and we look at different areas. So an educator shared with me a story of, I think it was a boy. The educator didn't give whether it was a boy or girl, but I just assume it was a boy based on one little thing that was said. And I can't tell you whether this was this school year or 50 school years ago. I have no idea.
All right.
Presumably, this student, my impression, acquired a label from a year or 2 or 3 or 10 earlier. And this label traveled with this student from year to year. And again, my impression, my perception, presumably the educator knew of the student, perhaps knew the student's family, perhaps may have taught siblings, whatever the reason is. Maybe the educator just saw something, had an interaction, decided to do a little digging, as I would say, and realized, wow, this child has been given this label. Now, not a medical label to say you diagnosed with A, B, and C.
Yeah.
Just, you know, a little bad boy, a little rude boy, a little social label. And somehow got the student, you know, engaged in an activity and started working with the student. Got another educator involved in, you know, within the school year, seeing some significant improvements. Now, there may have been some differences in the way the student learns. But at the end of that school year, some other educator colleagues saw, wow, this child can learn, is different, it isn't what the label. And, you know, suffice it to say that years after the student leaves school and his social and societal success, as it were, you know, but for that intervention, but for that willingness of this one person doing this thing, where would that student be today?
He would be still stuck under that label. He would still be, and even though he mightn't be what the label is, the label will change him automatically into what the label refers him to.
Live up to expectations.
Yeah.
All right. So let me be careful because I don't know who the person. I didn't ask. It wasn't shared. It's not important. I gather that this is something that has been long ago.
Right.
Okay. So this student now is perhaps an adult, many years as a practicing professional or whatever the person is doing now. Again, I don't know. What I gathered and how the story sort of culminated is that this person now, as an adult, is going to be doing something and maybe need a reference or some sort of character reference or a referral, something. And this label has now resurfaced. And I thought, wow. And has, you know, because one of us who was around as an adult when this thing was whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, but you remember?
You remember that? You remember when he did this? Or
Yeah.
that? Yeah.
Whatever this thing is, right? And I thought, but I mean, you don't, and it could be the same whether you go into the church and people say, yeah, but remember he was whatever, or so we don't get a chance to reform, to repent,
to succeed, to get
Okay.
to get where you want to go just because of this label.
Right.
That's the part I don't understand with Cayman Islands.
Right.
People can come from everywhere with different backgrounds, automatically forgiven and forgotten.
Never probably even inquired about.
Never even.
All right, Daniel. I look at you, and for those who are listening, I'm asking sort of participation in this conversation from the perspective of not just for personal edification, but how do we move forward as a people? Not just being mindful and respectful, tolerant and accepting. Because sometimes there's certain things you just don't tolerate. Right? I don't believe that I would want ever in my personal house where I pay the mortgage every month and the like, or the one that I don't have to pay the mortgage on, doesn't matter. That's where I lay my head.
Yeah.
That I want us to smoke anything. I don't even want us to smoke food in the house that messes up the house with opening the windows. Inside that house. You want to go out in the yard, that's fine. That is not the rule in everybody's house. That's just the rule in my house. Now, so I never want to be tolerant, nor accommodating, nor accepting of that.
No.
Right? But by the same token, if I invite you and I want you to never ever feel threatened or intimidated or unwelcome, right? Unless I said, okay, here's the door, let me lead you out and please never come back and you know exactly why. Fair enough, right? Some people may understand where I'm coming from. So there are certain things that we should be able to look beyond. There are certain things that we should hold fast to which that which is good. Remember the motto of the old Cayman Islands High School. We fail to forget that there are things that we should stand on.
Yeah. Certain things that we grew up with, we now forgotten. I mean, and I won't say, I'm not gonna get deep in it, but I gotta just show you how much people nowadays that can still clean and gut a fish. You understand? I mean, it's small, I know, but it's significant to know. I mean, some people nowadays even forget how they say, give more than you take.
Yeah.
You understand?
But even that act of going fishing and catching the fish and cleaning it, like you say, cleaning, gut it, and then preparing it. Not even those of us who don't know, as an example. But there are many of us that can't get to go because of the restrictions and all the impediments. Think back to the conversation we had earlier with the physician and the health services personnel, the nurse and the like. That there are physicians today and there are parents today who we might say thankfully don't know about measles and its consequences, right? But is that because we've done a great job at sort of eradication and control and the like? Has that really translated into a scenario where our discussion on whether we should get vaccinated, is it informed or is it skewed? Now, I'm not going to get into that aspect of it because people have their different views. But to me, the correlation is that sometimes we don't know where we are because we have no clue how we got there.
How we came from.
Where we came from, right? How we got there.
That's right.
Yeah. So
where the measles started, I believe it was somewhere out of the desert, I think. It's really blowed and,
But Daniel, from your perspective, when we look at Cayman, I mean, what keeps you awake? What keeps your mind turning? What are the major issues?
What makes me really worried, Mr. Dwayne? It really makes me worried, when I see people, they just out there struggling, and they basically don't have, they have ideas or they have ways to get in, their situation sorted out, getting really independent. But they just can't because of certain labels, like what you're talking about, and you push to do things that you never were taught to do. You never even thought that you would, do this, but you're doing it just for the sake that people got you under this label, and you better stay that label, And it is sickening how some little things get so much attention, but not these big, these big situations. Like when I hear them talking up inside the Legislative Assembly, it don't sound like they up in there serious. It sound like they at a bar club or something when they just chatting and joking with each other about, he gonna eat grape water and this and that. That don't sound like no big, like, something serious they discussing. It sound like they discussing a barbecue or something.
From that perspective, then we look at the idea that was it he who feels it knows it,
right?
But then, as you were sharing that, I'm wondering if we are mindful of the notion that a nation is destroyed from within.
Within,
right? And the enemy within.
Right.
Do you think then that may be happening here? We who live and work here, we who are called Caymanian, whether we go back generations, whether we just go back, whatever. This is our home. Are we conscious that our actions are either adding value or undermining?
No, I don't think so. I think it's just seeing dollar signs. That's all. Just what you could get for it, or what's it worth. If it's not worth nothing, don't bother with it. Or if it take too long to get.
Yeah, I hope he doesn't mind. I don't like to name drop for different reasons, but he said this on air. I think he's a great farmer, Mr. Otto Watler. Sitting where you're sitting, had his hat on. And he said one day that in this country, right, one day as a guest, he said, we seem to have this notion, I'm paraphrasing, right, that we can live without food. We don't need to plant and grow food, but we can't live without the dollar bill. That saying that we don't put enough emphasis on food security and on agriculture. We can't live without a dollar bill, but we can seem to think that we can live without food.
Because they thinking the dollar bill gonna buy the food.
Well, yeah, and the way he said that, and he said that a long time ago, there's probably very little that I've heard that has stuck with me like that image that he created, because men was chase, so on. Anyway, Daniel Moxham sits with us. We do have a call online, 949-8037, 949-6990. If you want to call and share your thoughts, let's go to our phones. Hey, good afternoon and welcome. You're on Talk Today.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Shannon?
How are you?
I'm fine. This is Emil Levy.
Hey, Mr. Levy, sir. Good to hear from you, sir.
Oh, nice to hear from you.
Thank you, sir.
And nice to hear your program.
Thank you.
I usually don't call in, but I'm calling today because I'm so concerned and I'm a bit frustrated about what's going on in our country.
Yes, sir.
I share the same concerns that you share. But mainly, right now, I'm calling in support of the churches that is finally standing up against this gay marriage thing that we have going on in the Cayman Islands. I, for one, Sterling, is 100% against this because it is destroying our way of life in the Cayman Islands. I have a lot of people that is upset about this, especially in the Eastern District, where we are all heterosexuals, most of us I know, other than those that's in the closet hiding themselves. This homosexual thing that is being brought upon my Cayman people, all heterosexuals, all churches, all mothers and fathers, and all children need to stand up against this. This is demonic, and it is interrupting our way of life here in the Cayman Islands. Me, for one, I encourage all homosexuals and those that are homosexual, lesbians, to go to the Amazon, down in the jungle, where nobody will disturb you with your demonic homosexuality. I know very well that I'm supported by most of the people on this island, except for the crazies that have gone twisted with this thing that is they're trying to impose on us. For all members of government that is listening, I advise you also to stand up against it. I have much more I'd like to say, but that's my short input on this matter.
And thank you for listening, and equally, and perhaps more important, thank you for sharing, sir. Have a wonderful, blessed Easter and enjoy the week.
You too. And don't forget, Sterling, we listen to you. Keep up the good work.
Thanks for the encouragement. Thanks for the prayers. And hopefully I'm doing something right. Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
As the gentleman shared, Daniel, the idea that there has to be more of an engaged, informed discussion from our people. We sit back a lot.
Right.
I don't know. That's why I like with you, and there are a couple others, thankfully, like you. Specifically, if you don't mind me saying, young families like you who are concerned about the future, who are vested, and who are trying to make a difference.
Right. But, they push to make sure that it's either we going to have this little bit that we have now, or I go and talk and have nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the decisions they make. So they rather just kind of like keep quiet, or just stay a little bit in between, or if you can understand, just make sure that they don't cross no boundaries. They just try and raise the family as how they want and how they see it's supposed to be raised, and do it as honestly and as not trying to get more labels on them or anything.
I'm mindful, if you don't mind. I know on a personal level, I'm very, very conscious of it.
Right.
I don't rarely hear me speaking loudly.
Right.
I don't. What I say, I don't self-promote.
No.
That's not because I'm trying to be, overly humble or filled with all this great humility. But I believe humility before honor. So when someone asks me about who you are, where you're from, and whatever, I probably don't say too much, right? I don't want to put you on the spot too much. I just want to share this, and you can, if you wish to respond. The reason to listen, Paulo, why I've asked you to join me, and now and again, you accept, because you call the program, you share things that I then go back and go, I didn't know that, and I get to take what you say and look at it from a historical perspective, and I add that to what is probable going forward with some of your views. If you are mindful, you want to say anything about yourself, go right ahead. I mean, I just introduced you as Daniel Moxham. I leave it to you if you wish. I know our people are. Well, we don't self-promote. Well,
no, I don't self-promote myself into anything. I don't take myself as no idol, no icon, nothing like that. But my name is Daniel Moxham. You understand? I'm a Moxham first of all. That being said, you can guess who everybody is around me. I've been through these times in Cayman as a youngster. I'm still regular young, but I've been through in a little bit of time. I've been scammed every which way possible, just trying to be honest with people, and people taking advantage of that. And that made me kind of wise. Every time I got scammed, even in love, I kind of get stronger and understand what to look out for and what to notice. And I've been noticing things that normally other people don't go through, what somebody like me or where we come from go through. We're almost like forgotten. So, and it's just because I question in school. I question everything. I question who was Columbus, who everything. I question everything. Where God come from. And they would get you in trouble. That would get you in trouble. I never did it to look attention from the other students, you understand? But it was just there for me to just question. I had to understand. If I go into school to learn, I want to learn everything. Don't tell me no lies, please.
But see, that's why I like, if you don't mind me saying, why I like chatting with you, because that to me is a sign of intellect. I want to know why. You remember the little child, we're always mindful as parents. We're told by physicians and when they get to a certain age, they're always asking these questions, right?
Yeah.
And thankfully, you and others like you, hopefully the society will be more willing to embrace a question: why? Whether you're 2 or 22 or you're 102, if you're asking why, you seek an answer. But let's talk about that when we come back, and let's see where that takes us. Hey, Daniel Moxham has been gracious to accept the invitation to join us. Are you going to do likewise? 949-8037 or 1-800-534-TALK. Or you can give you Susan's personal direct line, 949-6990. If you don't think she'll answer that when you call, try it, and I'll prove me wrong. But if not, then say I was right. 949-6990. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Radio Cayman. Radio Cayman's newsroom. These are the biggest stories right now.
Just after 5:45 a.m. today, police arrested a 28-year-old man on suspicion of causing death by dangerous driving, driving a vehicle whilst disqualified, driving a vehicle without insurance, and leaving the scene of an accident. The man was taken into custody where he is being held, pending further investigations by the Traffic and Roads Policing Unit. The victim in this incident is from Off Island, and his identity will not be released at this time to provide officers time to contact his family. Good afternoon, I'm Dion Anglin with your headlines. In news elsewhere, Senator Kamina Johnson-Smith, Jamaica's leader of government business in the upper house, has reiterated Jamaica's support of any significant stride towards a diplomatic resolution to the current economic, social and political emergency in Venezuela. Jamaica has come under criticism within the Caribbean community, CARICOM, since meeting with U.S. President Donald Trump in March with several Caribbean leaders. The Bahamas, Jamaica, Haiti, the Dominican Republic and St. Lucia were the only Caribbean countries to attend Trump's meeting. One of the first ever Muslim members of the U.S. Congress has said that a tweet by U.S. President Donald Trump has led to an increase in threats against her life. Minnesota's Ayan Omar said the threats were sparked by violent rhetoric, accusing Mr. Trump of stoking right-wing extremism. It has to stop, she added. The tweet showed Ms. Omar talking to a U.S. Muslim group about the 9/11 attacks. And a dog discovered some 135 miles off the coast of Thailand has been rescued by a team of oil rig workers after the exhausted pooch was spotted paddling near a drilling platform. The brown aspen swam towards the workers when they called out to him last Friday afternoon. He was then pulled to safety. That's a wrap of your headlines. I'm Dion Anglin.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
What's happening in your community? News and information, music and more. You can find us. www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman.
But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back to Talk Today in the studio. Good company of Daniel Moxham. And thanks to you and to, thankfully, a growing number of yous, people like you who are willing to call the talk shows, who are willing to share publicly a perspective. Hopefully it will engender some discussion. It may even reach the ears of our politicians and policymakers or preachers and pastors. I don't know.
I would hope so. I mean, like I say, I got a label too. I mean, I almost gained it where I think I have to embrace that label, and that's what messes with people like that, because then they can't say nothing to me. They can't say, oh, and I'd be like, thank you. If they won't say anything bad, I'd be like, thank you, thanks.
But sadly though, that label that some of us get, you said it earlier, and if I can, I know I can't repeat it with the same eloquence and insight you did. But negatively, we live up to that. So we tell the student, let's go back to the class. That you're dumb, you're this, you're that. Some hopeful things that are not happening in our schools at all, right? But then the child lives up to that low expectation.
Right.
And then later on, as an adult, we wonder why, there's no better. We have to wonder, Are we speaking into me?
And I learned that from elders. People tell me, more you believe something, sometimes it probably will come true. If you believe you're stupid, you going to be stupid. You're going to make stupid choices. Or, you need to think it before you just jump and do it. And that's what's happening with all of our youngsters now. They're getting impaired by certain things in the media, certain things in the food. Everywhere it's kind of switching them to just rebel, and the thing is they want to rebel, but they don't know what to rebel for, or what
to rebel against.
Yeah, they don't know, and they probably saying it as being a rebel, thinking I go and just live till I die or something. I don't understand that.
It's like the word radical.
Radical.
I remember a long time ago, and it's probably because I questioned the word and then had some people who could help guide. Well, did you go back to the root of this word, see the Latin and understand its use, and then you see it biblically. Then once, long ago, a very knowledgeable pastor, not just from the perspective of being a theologian and studying the like, but in other areas as well, did a sermon on that word and how the word has sort of got a bad rap, it has a negative connotation. And today we look at someone and call them a radical. That's not a compliment,
No.
But if we think of it and understand it, it shouldn't be this horrible thing to be a radical, in a sense, right? With that, though, Daniel, as we look at Cayman and we look at the different challenges, you shared the notion that children are perhaps being bombarded by the things they see in the media, perhaps in the discussions in the classroom, whether it's a deliberate attempt by the educator in the class to influence a particular mindset. I don't know, how do we as parents and as a community acknowledge and address this issue?
First of all, the biggest thing that's going on wrong in the community is that parents are not having enough time with their children. When I say that, I don't mean to be stricken, discipline all the time. I mean in just having the base mother and father love that should be happening. No, it's not happening. It's with the nanny. And what happens is that the nanny end up falling, feeling that that's her child, and she grows the child how it would come.
Irrespective of how loving and nurturing and caring that nanny is.
And then the children, they grow up. They don't recognize love from the parents because it's only the nanny that showed them love.
They see the material things from the parent, the provision and
right.
But it's the nanny that gives that maternal, so to speak.
Right.
And I think as you shared, I had a wonderful evening for a few hours yesterday to visit with some friends, and almost to what you shared is what we experienced. The invitations are there. Come in and sit with us. Let's have a meal. It could be no more than a little beverage that you're having, right? The sugar water, or right? But you're fellowshipping, whatever you want to call that word. You're sitting, you're chatting, you're being told stories of the old. You're being encouraged to look at future prospects. How many of us have that time? We're so busy working, right? We're rushing off to a meeting. We're trying to be productive and engaged citizens, helping others.
Right?
Are we having any time to spend with each other?
No. And it's getting really bad, It's getting really bad. It's some parents, I see they can't wait for their children to go sleep, just so they can run off or I don't know. Some of them gives them Benadryl,
make them
go. Yeah, that's how serious this is. It's almost like the parents is also childs too. Well, you can almost see that by how much young births or how much young conceptions going on in this one island, and nobody basically address that a older man can go and impregnate a younger 13-year-old or
So those social happenings, I won't want to say ills, but and I look at you tell me, because sometimes I think it's where, as a church itself, I wonder if we as a community, and especially as a church community, are addressing that. Not only if it's a member of our congregation on either side of the equation, but just as an issue in society, those issues. Are we paying attention to that?
I have to say, I don't know, but is I see them. They try to pull you into the church. If they see you thinking it, they try to make you be one of them, and that is honest, good help. No joke. But when it comes to talking to people, right, about the church or God or anything, they act like they are superior, like they know more about God than anybody.
Then God knows about himself.
Right, and that what turns people off. And people in the church, they feel too like, we gonna just go to church and don't worry about nobody else. But like I had up earlier, I said, you can't treat people like garbage and still worship God.
Well, we're going to go to the phones, but what's the scripture? Faith without works is dead. All right. Daniel Moxon sits across from me. Let's don our headsets. Let's join our callers. Welcome. You're on Talk Today. Hello, good afternoon. All right. We have a call online. Good afternoon. Welcome. All right. Hello, good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon.
Hey, how are you, man?
Good, man. Good. Done.
Yes, Rambo.
Yeah, man. Just acknowledgements. Do your thing.
Done now.
Sterling.
Yes, sir.
In the future, if you make me an invitation in the future, you know what? You know, like in May or so.
Yeah, man.
My mother, she lives in Iowa, right? She was there, so I want which on the island?
Yeah.
She could witness that. You know what I'm saying?
All right, listen, I'll get your number. You just share with Susan so I can call you?
Yeah, man. Yeah.
All right.
Hold on. Different now, right?
Yeah, man.
You see, me, I'm a straight person now.
I know.
Right? And I don't join church now, right? I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I don't join church. I mean, it's good. You pay 10% tight, right? And that protest was excellent.
Right.
I can get access to it. The road was all congested. You see, right? So this in different Sterling.
Yes, sir.
On the road, everybody vexed with this thing. I can tell you, my circle people, right? Different class people, self-employed, friends, everybody vexed. Females too, everybody vexed with it. You understand?
Right.
They can't legalize the marijuana, simple thing, right? But they keep suppressed, you know?
Yeah.
So, and I got to say one more thing now. You see, in Cayman now, every child born 11 and a half chromosomes from each parent. So that 23 total. So you have the father's side, the family, the mother genetics, that DNA. You understand? But Cayman now, like I said, the label, you found that person, you judge it.
Right.
That's how it is. That typical Cayman is. Right? We all Cayman is, but a typical different.
Unfortunately. I hear you, man, and I certainly, reach out to you, but for what it's worth, and just my view, something that my mother always shares, remember when you're going to church, you're going for yourself, you're not going for anybody else, right? So, I hear you, and see and experience, but then we got to do for ourselves, right?
That's right, I do. Different, like, Susan, reach out to me, my number.
Yeah, don't hang up. Don't hang up. She's going to give it to you. You give it to her, all right?
Yeah, man.
And then I'll call you. Hey, thanks very much, man. But more time, man. Another call online, Miss Susan? Okay, we'll get to that in a second. But Daniel, the idea that increasingly, with more confidence and conviction, more of our people are starting to say things. Now, Saturday, for instance, I had similar response as the caller shared. Some people were frustrated because of the congestion, and then twofold. So this is by no means not anything that I would think is empirical, because I don't know. I didn't seek it out deliberately. But I had two comments, and I'll share them with you in a second. But let's take this caller since we got it up. Hey, good afternoon. Welcome.
Hello, good afternoon.
Afternoon. How are you?
Afternoon.
Good. I was just touching base on what a gentleman just said there. There's a lot of things going on here in the island. A lot of things that need to be addressed. And for one, I'm a young Caymanian. I always listening. And, like what the young man just said, there's a lot of talks on the road with the same-sex marriage and whatnot, but it is up to the members and the politicians to get it sorted. We could always speak and talk so much, but if nothing is being done, we would always have these troubles.
If nothing is being done, repeat that.
Pardon?
Repeat that for us again, please. So people, if nothing's being done.
If nothing is being done, we would always have these
struggles,
these problems, these troubles.
Yeah.
And me personally, as a young Caymanian, certain things are being overlooked just to say, "Oh, we're getting ahead," but the spotlight is not being shed on the right things.
What are those things in your mind that we're not shedding light on?
For instance, all right, everybody kicking out about the gay thing now because it just came out. That man, he just said something about legalizing marijuana. and all these type of things.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it is a trouble. And if the government could find a way to regulate that, they all know drugs is a big problem here. But where is the drugs coming from? Where is the drugs coming from? Right next door. Next door legalize it over there. So why can't we do something over here about it?
But why can't we even go a step further? I mean, is there something else that we can do?
Yes, exactly. A step further.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because it's becoming a big problem. We just got a brand new helicopter that costs fuel to go up in the sky.
Mm-hmm.
Pilots.
The Marine unit, they need fuel in protection out there too, also from these guys that's coming in with these stuff.
Yeah. If you're listening on the phone, you're gonna find the delay, right? So, but when you look at that and you see these issues, share obviously other issues that you wish, but what is it that is hindering, hampering, or we just unwilling to? Why is it that we're not looking at these things and trying to address them? At least list them out, you know.
Personally, I think they just let us turn our backs and focus on making things up for them. Because with this seems like marriage, I was telling my grandfather, he was so upset. He like, what am I going to tell my grandchildren when I see two men on the road kissing, two women on the road kissing? Papa, what are they doing, Papa? He said, boy, right now the question alone, the way how he asked me, he feels so dumb. Sorry to put it like that. You know, I mean, I know on the radio, but
no, I hear what you're saying.
He don't even know how to answer.
Yeah, but that just probably shows you how much the society is being displaced in a sense and confused about how to talk about issues.
Yeah, and there are members that are in there that would love it to happen. You know that personally. So you know it's a vice versa thing. So
then, in that case, whatever the issue is, am I interpreting what you're saying that those of us who are in a position to make a law or to create a policy or to put forward some sort of promotion, some sort of program, we have a conflict of interest, whether it's a business deal or some other issue, and therefore we're not quite sure what to do? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes, sir. Thank you. That's it. No more.
No more. All right.
Thank you.
Listen, we'll talk to you again when you're ready, all right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thanks very much. Keep up the afternoon, man. Have a good one. Mr. Moxon, time goes fast when you're having fun. I always enjoy your company. We got a short break. It's the final break. When we come back, more talk today.
Spring is in the air and Easter around the corner. So too is Savannah Pharmacy, your neighborhood pharmacy located in Countryside Shopping Village. Stocked with Easter gifts and treats and new spring apparel. Remember, they're always just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays. Get all of your Easter purchases at Savannah Pharmacy in Countryside Shopping Village or call 946-3336. Savannah Pharmacy, your neighborhood pharmacy located in Countryside Shopping Village.
This Easter Saturday, hop down to Bayshore Mall for Kirk Freeport's Easter at Bayshore Family Event. Join us on Saturday, April 20th from 4 to 6 p.m. for refreshments, cotton candy, popcorn, balloons, face painting, steel drums, and more. There will even be supersized Easter bunnies and a kids scavenger hunt with chocolate prizes. Kirk Freeport's Easter at Bayshore Family Event, April 20th from 4 to 6 p.m. at Bayshore Mall in Georgetown. Free parking behind the mall. Visit kirkfreeport.com for more information.
Save time, don't stand in line. You can apply for or renew your trade and business license online 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Just visit dci.gov.ky and click on the Trade and Business Online application link. Now, you don't need to stand in line, take time out of your busy schedule or try to find parking. You can apply for your trade and business license online. Visit dci.gov.ky today and save time for running your business.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. Thanks for sharing with us. Thanks for listening and calling and giving us your perspective. very grateful to our guests today in the good company of Daniel Mox. So Daniel, I don't know, the only thing better than that would be if we were out fishing somewhere. But it's a good day.
Yeah, it's real. Catching a couple squabs or something.
Man, what do you mean? A little top out? My brother's going, I keep inviting you to go fishing, you don't want to go.
I don't think he no more sword. Just left. I don't see him in a long time. So.
I see him now and again, man.
But to the two lads, thank you very much for sharing, for speaking out, and I hope other people listening and take example from all of us that you can speak, you can say what you have to say, and somebody have to hear it no matter even if you're shouting in the bush, and step to this, but they bringing up a lot about the gay marriage, and this is my I already signed or did whatever. I don't approve it at all, because I know what the Bible says, and I know what it's all about. If they feel discriminated, then it's thinking about. Like I tell them once before, I say, a dog can't point you out if you're gay, but if you're smoking herb or something, a dog can rush you and bite you up because you smoking herb, and you can make you lose your house, lose your car, lose everything. Nobody can just look at you and really tell that you're gay or say anything like that. So I just wondering how they came, their rights became first. We getting pulled over in the water and all that. We lost so much young people too, just through the violence and just through them getting lost at sea, or just going mad sometimes.
But they pull it too from just going through and being in prison and labeling and challenges.
Right. And to me, the reason why I believe these politicians picked up and stand up against this is really to, and it's hard to say, right? But I feel that it's the truth. That my perspective is that it's a distraction. It's a distraction to what is really going to come, or what they're leading us on. We should be fighting for these people that fighting, trying to get laws against these people that be stealing the money from places that really need the money. It's like people that stole money from the Turtle Farm or immigration or wherever you caught stealing money, you should be, in certain parts of the Constitution, I read out and it says that no law can be made to discriminate against a minority or a majority. So when you calculate whether you gay or whether you smoke ganja, those laws or whatever, are not to the gays, but to the ganja laws or to the cannabis laws, they have to be amended. This is why you see me so long. I haven't brought up a petition. I haven't brought up a referendum as Mr. Alden suggested. I haven't no protest, no nothing, because I believe it automatically has to be amended because it was based and brought up based on racism. To basically discriminate against everything brown, coffee, everything.
Let me ask. If I may ask, Daniel, from your perspective, and forgive me, I will at some point. I probably feel like I have to at some point. I haven't as yet. Personal choice. I haven't as yet. I will do a lot more reading on the issue with respect to not just history, but the medicinal value, the societal implications, all those things. But if we were to take cannabis, I'm not trying to come across ill-informed of it. I just don't know, right? If we take it and we use it in a form, I call it smoking it, right? However that's done. And I say this because I gather from some people that there are many ways to take it in order to get, I call it high. Hopefully the police don't mind me saying it that way, as opposed to taking it for medicinal purposes, right? So we know people, elderly especially, will, when I say elderly, I don't know what they, our ancestors would boil the leaves for tea, for asthma and certain things, just like they would boil C and other things, right?
Put it down a rum bottle.
Yeah, there were traditional ways that people use it in the Caribbean.
Right.
Okay.
That's culture too,
Yeah. Somebody gets sick, they give it to them for this, and it helps with different things. So they knew that this bush medicine and this was just another bush that was a medicine.
Right.
All right. But smoking it, right? So the person who takes it to smoke it, that gives them a high. That's the word I use. If we were to do that, make it legal to do that or decriminalize it. And again, I believe we're confusing the populace with the two words, legalize and decriminalize.
Right.
But if you were to do that, so somebody who has it, like they have cigarettes or they have certain things, and they do that, what would that do? Is that helpful to the society? Is that helpful to the people?
Well, based on the other nations, and I know people totally don't agree with that coming here, right? But based on those other research and thing, it comes out that it's actually better. It come out that you don't spend time policing it. You go and you look for, rapists or robbers, stealers,
Right.
You end up with a better healthcare system, because how the healthcare system is set up now is that every cured patient is a customer loss. You understand? Okay. So if you basing your health system just on that, that automatically has to be written off the shelf.
Right.
This thing now shows it that you will cure people and you will have more people living a better life, less stress, less this worrying about this and that.
But is this but this is from your perspective now. Neither of us are physicians or claiming to be, or we don't even play one on the radio. But is this from your perspective?
No, this is research.
No, from smoking it or from taking it in a different way that cures or makes them better. I mean,
well, definitely you wouldn't smoke something for cancer like that.
Okay,
you wouldn't do that. You would have to ingest it.
Okay.
You would definitely have to ingest it. Right. And the big trick that they put on us was that CBD cures cancer, but CBD does not cure cancer. And I'll repeat that again for anybody that made a profit off of selling CBD, saying that it will cure cancer. That's a lie. That's a sham. That's a fraud. Okay? THC is known to cure cancer within 3 to 6 months.
The CBD doesn't, but the THC does. These are two of the chemicals within the plant.
Right. The CBD, a CBD oil contains 99% CBD, and then it has a 1% THC in it. So the cure takes longer, but you're actually getting cured from THC, from that 1%.
Right. See, this is where, in the limited reading that I've done, I recognize that there are a number of things. That's part of the challenge, the education, the awareness. But it seems that there's an unwillingness on the part of us as a community to look at this. Now, I'm not going to belabor it and certainly not get into it now, because I can't speak from an informed perspective. But I think that there are strong medicinal values to it. How you administer that, we need to look at how we, for want of a better word, regulate it, make it accessible. But I think it's like anything. If we're going to grow our plantains and our potatoes and our cassava, we should probably grow whatever this thing is, if it's going to be healthier and to source it. No, that's just a view.
But either way though, they can claim all they want, they can shine all they want. They're for the children's story or the total dislike of seeing people use it. But it's a fact, and nobody can sway that. This is in history. You cannot die from using ganja, whether you ingest it or smoke it. You cannot die.
How? I mean,
it has cocaine and heroin, right? They have something in it that makes the lungs and the heart. It's something, a special gland in our lungs and heart that shuts down. It makes it.
Okay.
THC does not, or cannabis does not carry that chemical or does not carry those effects. No time. It does not. The only how you could die would be if we were in this room right now and there was no more oxygen in here. We would die from oxygen
deprivation. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So that is the fact that it overrides anything that they want to say. And the only reason why we have such a problem here is because people go in front of the magistrate and they plead guilty because they're coerced by either the lawyer or the police to plead guilty, to make it say, well, if you go in front of the judge and you plead not guilty, you might get more time.
But isn't it, I see an opportunity for an extended discussion there. But it comes down then from the perspective of the community having a discussion about, I use the word drugs of all sorts. So even the prescription medications that we have, that we don't abuse them, that we do them.
Let me show you. You see this family named Sackler, Richard Sackler. They're the creators of Oxycontin.
Oxycontin, yeah. Okay.
These people got this drug passed by FDA in 6 months, right? And during this time, during their sale of Oxycontin, they were supposed to report any, fraudulent or suspicious purchases of prescriptions, in Kermit, one town named Kermit in United States. Purchased almost 4 million doses, right? This town only has 400 people in it, right? The FBI, they came and they caught Sackler and these people. They just paid the fine and went continue. Thing is just like what a cartel would call the cost of doing business. They just paid and gone. Then they gone and they made more money and got caught again. And then they paid more money and then gone and caught again. And we had so much people, as you can see in the States, whether they're from here or not, they're still human or they're still, a part of us. They over there dying and screaming.
And we see the epidemic.
Get these pills.
Yeah, we see the epidemic now of that addictive, of the opiates and the like. But Daniel, I wish we had another 4 hours to talk. This is what I like with you chatting, giving us a chance to look at it. Closing thoughts, and then hopefully you come back and join us again.
Yeah, well, I always grateful and thankful for you, Miss Susan, for having me.
She's
here.
awesome, man.
Yeah, good director. Always good to know that you can speak out. And people shouldn't be afraid. That's my last and final thought. People shouldn't be afraid to talk up when you know something is wrong. When you really know, not what is legal, I hate when I hear that. And I hate to say the word hate too. Even me just saying the word makes me anxious. But something legal, and then what something is that is right. The police come to you, they say, I just doing my job. If you ever try to get in his mind and say, boss, you really like this job? He have a glitch, and he go and arrest you anyway and put more charges on you. I mean, this is my experiences. I'm sorry, but I make him glitch when I ask that question. And that glitch, when you see that you can make him glitch out like that just for asking the truth, you know that it's something on your side that is more powerful than them. You can't glitch. We have something more powerful than anybody can imagine. You understand? That money don't mean nothing to us. If we don't have each other, we lost.
Love, of all things, right? Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Daniel, I admire you, I appreciate you, for those who know and as you shared, But it's for us to work together.
Right.
Do the right thing, not just because it's lawful means that it's necessary, right? So do the right thing, be your brother's keeper. And hopefully, in our willingness to disagree, we do so civilly and respectfully. Look for where we're more alike than where we're different, right?
Right. The gun, I'm sorry, but the gun is a cheat. It's a cheat when you're having a discussion or you're having a altercation with somebody. The gun is a cheat for you to, and I don't know. I don't know how they get aboard this island. I don't know why the people decide to bring them here or whatever.
That's something I would like to see or consider the effort to focus on bringing that sort of thing.
More of that than searching us down or just putting your nose up in the air,
Yeah, man.
I hate that, man.
Well, maybe we have reinterpreted the golden rule to believe he who has the gun makes the rule as well, I don't know. But perhaps we should live by the true golden rule, by the golden rule.
Yeah, now live by the gun. Thank you very much, Mr. Dwayne.
Mr. Daniel Moxon, thanks for sharing with us. And to our listeners, I will say this to you on a personal level. I try to be positive and productive. I don't always be polite and patient. I try, but I endeavor to be respectful. But if we live together, we work hard to help each other move along, maybe we'll achieve more. And we'll be happier. And we'll be able to walk freely, enjoy a better quality of life. It'd be nice to walk outside and not step in the droppings of a dog or be bit by something. But it'd also be nice to know that your neighbor isn't, harassing you and you're not harassing your neighbor in many ways, right?
You can share a pot on Sunday.
That would be good, All right. Well, the Susan, as the director, as Daniel shared, no, I think what he meant is he's like the movie, the person behind the camera, right? She's behind the board. So, Susan, thank you very much. Yeah. And to our listeners, think equally. Let's find a way to make this community healthier and stronger and better, safer, cleaner, and be mindful that we all, we all live and work here, and it's challenging. You've probably heard the news, this sort of police report. We had an unfortunate mishap this morning that resulted in a loss of life because of, the way we use our roads. I don't wish to cast aspersions or even be considered that I'm making a judgment. If I can respectfully just ask all of us, as little, as much, as best as we can, let's just be a little bit more cautious, considerate, and careful on the roads. Don't worry about what the next person is doing. If each one of us was to do that, maybe it'll translate in that all of us are doing it. I don't know. A lot of distractions in many ways, so let's see what we can do to make it better. Today is only Monday, and as far as Susan and I are concerned, there's only 4 days for the talk show. Mr. O'Connell has one more on Wednesday. So, what Sabrina has 2 more come Tuesday and Thursday. So, Friday is Good Friday. Monday is Easter Monday. But we're going to have some fun between now and then. Until tomorrow, be blessed.
District to district, moving through the waters to Cayman Bracken, Little Cayman. Your station, your voice. All things Cayman. One radio, many people. This is home.
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.